What's brewing, everybody? This is Chicken George, and I'm here with my man D1. What's brewing, D1?
What's up, my man? I'm blessed to be here. I'm glad we got to knock this out.
Most definitely. So at this time, just for the people who may not know who D1 is, and if you don't know who D1 is, you've been under a rock for the last couple of years or whatnot. Why don't you tell the people, tell the fans, tell the listeners a little bit about yourself before we really get into this interview?
Well, I'm a young man. I'm a hip-hop artist that hails from New Orleans, Louisiana, and I haven't been rapping my whole life. I took up rap when I was in college, just as a hobby at first. And once I realized that my music and my words were actually resonating with people and affecting people in either a positive or a negative way, I started to take it more serious. I saw the power that my words had. And by the time I graduated college a couple of years ago, I had really, gotten into this like 10 toes deep into hip-hop. And, I started teaching middle school just because that's something I'm passionate about. And also it just helped me to keep the lights on and pay my bills as a grown man. So I was doing that by rapping. Yep, and I was able to step away from the classroom actually, and I've been doing my music full time for like over a year now. And it's it's a blessing. I'm very grateful for that opportunity that God has given me, and I'm just I'm taking the industry by storm right now, and that's the mode that I'm in. I'm just taking it by storm. I've been on MTV. I've had like 4 videos on MTV Jams in like the past 6 or 7 months. I'm just grinding. I've been touring. I got a real hot CD that's out right now by the name of I Hope They Hear Me Volume 2, and just more and more doors are opening up every day. So I'm like I said, I'm fully in grind mode.
And like you said, I Hope They Hear Me Volume 2 is definitely a hot project. I reviewed it. It's probably one of the best projects that I've heard this year thus far. Writer's Block was like one of my favorite tracks that I've heard like ever. And kind of speaking on Writer's Block, one of the bars that you spit, you were basically talking, and kind of like what you were just saying just a couple of minutes ago, talking about the youth and talking about, God, and you were talking about, in Writer's Block, you were talking about when people hear that you represent in G.O.D., you'll lose a couple more fans. So, and a lot of people, they've been talking about how, you've been inspirational and you're real positive. So my question is, we'll just throw it out there. Do you consider yourself a Christian hip-hop artist, or just a hip-hop artist that's Christian?
I definitely consider myself a hip-hop artist that is a Christian, because I feel like I've been able to perform in prisons, in clubs, on college campuses, at churches, at all type of different events and functions. And the music that I'm doing, it really crosses and it breaks down all barriers, and it doesn't have a stiff genre that it belongs to. It's obviously hip-hop, but as far as to classify it as Southern hip-hop or, Christian hip-hop, like, I realized that I'm just a hip-hop artist, and I was sent here by God to do his work and use the gifts that he's given me, to reach people. But I think, I label myself, I never try to sugarcoat the fact that I'm a proud Christian. And as far as me being a hip-hop artist, I'm a Christian that is in the genre of hip-hop. Just like when I was a teacher, I wasn't a Christian teacher. I was a teacher that was a Christian. So anyone who was in my classroom, they might not be Christian, or they might be Christian and they might just be, lost at the time or whatever, but they were still going to get those same principles and those same set of values that Mr. Augustine, stood firm by. And it's the same thing with D1.
Right. And I respect that because as we check your rap sheet and we see your collaborations and whatnot, we see that you've done tracks with Murs, you've done tracks with J. Cole, and you were on tour with Pac 10, right?
Pac Div.
I'm sorry, Pac Div. And sometimes I can tell from fans or, critics, I guess, more so critics, that when they see somebody or an artist talk about God or whatnot, they want artists to continuously just say God. They want Christian artists to say, God and throw out scriptures all the time in their verses. But then when they see people collab with people that aren't Christian artists, so to speak, then they kind of put, a question mark. And with that being said, you have a really hot song that you kind of got picked up from where you were speaking to 50, Jay-Z, and Weezy. And which, if you don't mind, kind of speak a little bit on that track.
Yeah, that track is that track is definitely like, it's really opened up a lot more ears to D1, and it made a lot of people pay attention. And it wasn't a diss track. It wasn't a track where I was, dissing them or talking about how I hate them so much. But it was a track, I feel like you teach people and you reach people through love, And with that being said, I was like, okay, what's a way to constructively criticize these brothers? Because they have a huge platform and they're at the top of the, the hip-hop industry with what they do. And if they took their calling a little more serious, I feel like they could really be influencing our culture and more specifically the youth, in a positive way, and really drop some jewels and some gems on these young impressionable minds. So with that being said, I did the track, J50 and Weezy, and I addressed them in a very blunt manner where I spoke directly to them, and I just talked about, look, 50, you always picking fights and starting beef with other rappers, but it's always, the underlying theme of it is that it's black on black hatred, just personified over and over again, because that's who you're picking on, is other young black artists, and that's all it is. It's the same as in the streets, two young brothers beefing, and one goes out and looks to eliminate the other, and kill him, or one drug dealer saying, you know what, I'm gonna come and take your spot. Like, that's all it is black on black hatred. With Lil Wayne, I was just like, Weezy, this whole generation pretty much looks up to you and looks at you as, a leader, and especially our city, New Orleans, where we from. And, what are you doing to really let this generation or this city know that you care about them and that you care about, their future in a positive manner? And talking to him about that, and it's pretty much saying, Wayne, I know you're smart. Like, I know what school you went to. I know people you grew up with. We're from the same city. Like, come on, man. Like, you're extremely intelligent, so you could be doing way more with your platform. And then with Jay-Z, I mainly was just saying, Hov, like, you pretty much, 1 second you seem like, your heart is with the people and with the community, and the next second, it's like you're having to prove your street cred again and talk about your days of selling drugs or making sure that people know that you're still capable of, pulling out a gun on them if need be. And it's just like you riding the fence, and that's how I felt. So I expressed that. And, and that's the first half of the song. And the second half of the song is just talking about, like this zombie culture that we live in a lot of times, to where we just brainwashed and we feel like, well, this is the norm. This is what has to occur, is if these people say it's cool, if these tastemakers say that something is cool to dress this way or to talk this way or to behave this way, then we need to do it. And that's why I say, forget the rules if the rules were devised by fools, So we need to look at, like, I follow the rules that God created. I try to live a Christ-like life. If someone else created these rules, it's like, who are you, first and foremost, before I try to just abide by them or follow them? Like, who are you, to have created these rules or these standards that we're all trying to aspire to? And then once I verify the source, it's just like writing a paper. Like, you can't cite something as a source in your bibliography if that source is not, credible or legit. So I'm asking our generation, what are these sources? Who are these people who have defined these norms and these rules that we are trying to live by, and these standards that we're trying to uphold? And if it's not a credible source at the end of the day, forget those rules. Let's get back to the rules that are, that are worth something and do hold credibility,
Right. And with you saying that, I see that you talked a lot about black on black crime and basically the African American culture helping each other out, which leads me to my next topic, which is you just dropped a video for your song Uncle Tom, and it's hot video, and I actually do video reviews for all the videos that you've been doing, and I haven't had a chance to actually review this one, but it seems like this video is getting a little bit of it's causing a spark, a little bit of controversy, and if you don't mind, kind of break it down for the people, because I believe some of the people that watch this video, I think some of them are getting offended. So if you don't mind, kind of just speak on the concept behind the song and the video.
Well, one thing that I realize is that whenever you speak on bold subject matter, it's going to excite some people, and just as many people as it excites, it'll probably offend others. So when I did this song and this video for Uncle Tom, I said, you know what? There's nothing wrong with being a black man or woman who has succeeded professionally, because look at me, like I come from the hood. I come from an environment where a lot of people don't quote unquote make it, but I graduated high school, graduated college, became a teacher, obviously. I had several job offers on the table, in the business realm, because I was a marketing major. So by no means am I talking down on anyone who has made it, successfully or corporately, just because they're black. But I think that an Uncle Tom is a person who will go to any length to make it professionally or corporately, and even if that means them, degrading their own people or, diminishing the value or the worth of their own people. And I think that's the big problem right there, is that, we have a lot of these Uncle Toms out here who they would do anything to just be accepted by their boss or by, the white man, because for whatever reason they still live in the Stone Age where they feel like, oh, if white people accept me, then you're really doing something. But other than that, I need to get away from all these ignorant people that live around me or that come from where I come from. And that's what I'm trying to address, because as backwards as it seems, there's still a lot of people like that. And if there weren't, then the song wouldn't even offend anyone. And a lot of times if you get extremely offended, it's because you're guilty. Like if you're not guilty of something, then why would you even get offended? And I think that the song and the video make it very clear that I'm simply talking about the segment of people who will, degrade or diminish the value of their own culture and their own people in order to move up or in order to try to impress some arbitrary boss or just impress, the white man or something like that. And I just think that that's absurd. So I did want to poke fun at those type of people and let them know, you're faking, man. You're lying to yourself. And it's only a matter of time before you break down or get broken down, living life as an Uncle Tom. And that's real talk. Like, that's what it is. So the fact that people misinterpret it, some people misinterpret it, I don't understand why. I really don't, man. And maybe you can help me with that. You know, either they're getting offended by it, or they just feel like, you know, maybe they've never heard the term Uncle Tom before. Like,
that was one of the things, because when you broke out into that third verse, the last verse, it was kind of like, some people were like, kind of like, oh, okay, well, you know, when you did the verse with the grandmother, and you were explaining the whole concept of that term. First off, a lot of people don't realize that's a Southern term, it's a Creole term, and like, I was reading some of the comments from the YouTube. I even kind of commented on it myself with me kind of going back with this guy. Not necessarily a debate. We were just kind of just going back and forth. But I think two of the problems is that some people felt as though, which you never said it, but people were saying that, I guess they felt that you were saying that if you have white friends, then you're Uncle Tom. Because what a lot of people, that's kind of like a lot of people were taking that as like a disrespectful song, because they were saying, okay, well, if I have white friends, then that's considered me Uncle Tom. And I think it's crazy. And once again, I'm going to speak to the people that's listening. If we as artists, if we don't say it, then we didn't mean it. So, you know, sometimes we got to stop taking stuff so deeper than what it is. But I believe that's kind of where it was. And like you said, if racism still wasn't an issue, then we still wouldn't be talking about it. And obviously from the comments from the video, we can still see that racism is still a big issue.
Yeah, and it's all good, man. I also realized with this video that some people might not catch. You know, I make sure that the message is clear for people to be able to get. So if you look at the beginning of the video, when the black guy walks into his office, he has two black coworkers who walk up to him, and he kind of just like pushes past them and kind of like shoos them off, like, I'm not gonna really, you know, acknowledge y'all. I'm not trying to shake y'all hand and tell y'all good morning or whatever. And then those same coworkers come and ask him if he wants to go to lunch, and he's like, get out of here, get away from my office. You know, he's like shooing them off. And then 5 seconds later, two of his white coworkers come and invite him to lunch, and he's like, oh yeah, come on, let's go. You know, like that. So it's just like it's a very obvious message if people take the time to, you know, to look at it, man. And I think, I mean, it's cool, long as it starts a conversation, and long as I know what my intentions were, and long as the masses know. I'm not gonna say just me, because I don't make music for just me. I do make it for people to get it, and I want people to get it. I don't like to go over people's heads or to confuse people with what I stand for or what I'm about. So, you know, it has gotten different opinions from different people, but I know that most people get it, you know, and that's the thing, is it opens up, you know, a forum for us to discuss it with the people who don't get it.
With that being said, do you think that goes back to the fact that you feel as though we're living in that zombie culture where it's kind of like we all just kind of, we don't want to think anymore, and nobody just has any brains. If anybody brings anything that's conscious of any aspect, that people just feel as though, nah, that's too deep, I don't like it.
Yeah, man, you know, to a certain extent, I'm gonna be honest with you. If I want, like, this stuff is all about marketing. It's all about, you know, what circle you put yourself in. And trust me, if I wanted to take the route of saying, you know what, I'm a Christian rapper, I make music for people who are in the church, and I touch on these subjects that I know are going to appeal to my audience, then, you know, I'm a very gifted lyricist and very charismatic, so I could be doing, you know, extremely well, and I probably wouldn't have any flack or any negative feedback. Then again, if I wanted to say, you know what, I'm a mainstream rapper, I'm not trying to have a message at all in my music, I just make tight punchlines, and I get banging beats and catchy choruses and repetitive, you know, hooks that just make people dance and kind of hypnotize them, to where they don't have to think, then I could take that route. But I'm actually, I'm like putting myself in the deepest part of the river, to where it's like, you know what, it's the hardest to swim in this part, but if you are able to swim, and not only swim but be an example to others, then it can be magical at the end of the day. And I think it can really bless people, to where the people who already have their mind right, they understand and they see like, wow, like this is really challenging us to not just sit in our comfort zone and preach to the choir all day, but to get out here on the front line. Like my biggest role model, Jesus Christ, he was a soldier, he was a warrior. So he didn't have any picks and chooses who he spread the gospel to and where he went, So that's my thing. Is like, shoot, I can't be that way either. And then again, I can't be in the midst of the battle, so to say, and lose all my integrity or lose my morals and what I stand for. So it's just a balancing act. And I think that as I continue to grow and mature as a man and as a soldier, I'm really looking to master that. So I don't mind. It's like, it is what it is.
I respect that. I respect that, because I've been asked this a lot, and I talk about this debate all the time, the pastoral style artist versus the evangelistic style artist. And we know that pastoral style artists, those are the ones that mainly rap for the sheep that's inside the church, that's inside the four walls. For the evangelistic style, they go outside the four walls. And it seems like even in church, though, it seems like those are the two that constantly collide with each other. And also in the hip-hop realm, it seems like they collide the most. And it seems like kind of like what you were saying, sometimes we need a balance. And sometimes as fans, they'll kind of gravitate to one more than the other style. So sometimes, it's simple and it's right in there in their faith. It's cool, but when they see evangelistic artists trying to go out there, like you said, going out to the deep end of the trying to get those fish that's way out there to reel them back in, it seems like they get a little bit more criticism. But
yeah, and it's cool. That's a very good point that you make, man. And I think it just comes with the territory. So it's all gravy. That's what I say to all that stuff. Like it's all gravy. That's what we say in New Orleans. So I'm cool. I'm cool with it. And I'm one of those artists who I do read people's comments and people's feedback, because I care about how the message is being received. Like I care about it. That's why I do it. It's for people to receive it, so I have to be in touch with how they're receiving it. So that's why I appreciate interviews and I appreciate forums where I have a chance to explain myself and my subject matter further.
Great. Well, before we get ready to go, I just want to ask this last question right here, because regardless of whatever the critics or the haters may say, you have had a very, very, very successful run doing what you do. So what are some tips that you can give other inspiring artists that look up to DEE-1, artists that want to be conscious, artists that that are Christian, that are doing hip hop? What are your what are some tips that you can give to them?
I think that the main thing is you have to put a personal touch on your work, because there's a bunch of people who feel the same way for the most part about these issues, but your perspective is what makes you unique. And the only way you have a perspective is, by either going through it firsthand or, imparting your own experiences or just your own thoughts on these subjects. So I think that that's the important thing that people need to keep in mind, because the hardest part nowadays is getting heard. That's why I named my CD I Hope They Hear Me. I have Volume 1, Volume 1.5, and Volume 2. And it's called I Hope They Hear Me, because you can be doing great music or great work, but if people don't hear you, then obviously you're you're not able to fulfill your mission. And
Right.
I feel like, so I feel like you definitely need to just be unique, be true to yourself, because each person, each individual is unique, and that gives you the greatest chances of being heard and of people taking an interest in your music.
Do you feel as though do you feel like a web presence is definitely needed in this time in order for people to hear you?
Definitely, man. Like a web presence. I think it's just counterproductive to not have a web presence. So it's just to the point where, like, there's no valid reason that someone can give me why they wouldn't, want to have a web presence. So yeah, it's common sense to me. I think you need to be on as many social media outlets as possible. I think that making use of videos is very important nowadays, and I think that just forming a network, like a real network to where you have direct contact with as many people as possible. I think that's key. So yep.
Cool. Well, you want to give any shots out and kind of let everybody know where they can pick up the new mixtape and check out the videos and whatnot?
No doubt. As far as shout outs, I just want to shout out everyone out there, who is pursuing their purpose in life, whether you know what it is, whether you're searching for what it is actively. But as long as you know that you have a purpose and you have a mission and you're in pursuit of that, I'm really rooting for you, and that's what my whole mission is all about. Being a one-man army or being a one-woman army, and just being in pursuit of whatever your purpose and your mission is. So shout out to all of y'all. As far as my music, after this whole interview, if you're like, okay, I'm a little curious, I want to see what he's talking about, I make it very easy, so you can just Google me. My name is spelled D1 DEE-1, and you can just Google me. You can go to my website and download my music, D1music.com, DEE-1 music.com, and you can. You gotta make sure you get the I Hope They Hear Me Volume 2 mixtape, and then you can get the other ones. I have Volume 1.5, Volume 1. I have an album on iTunes by the name of David and Goliath, which you can purchase. And also go to YouTube. I have a ton of music videos. So just YouTube D1, DEE-1, and check out the music videos. Follow me on Twitter at D1Music, and also like me on Facebook, facebook.com/D1Music. So that's DEE-1 music. And that's it, man. Other than that, we're going to keep this movement moving.
Word. Well, I want to give just an extra special thanks to you for just coming through, giving me some time just to sit down and just chop it up with you or whatnot. I respect your movement, respect what you're doing. Keep on grinding, doing what you're doing. And with everybody out there, like I said, D1, check him out and keep on spreading the stoop. Thanks.
Yes, sir. All right.